Yeah, this one hurts. This one hurts. 2 points dropped. I'm absolutely gutted. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to make excuses for it. This one really hurts. This was such a massive game. You know, I said it this whole week. This game is, in my opinion, it was our biggest game of the season so far. People might think, oh, that's crazy to say. Well, how is Sunderland away our biggest game? Manchester City and Liverpool play each other tomorrow. This was a massive, massive chance to extend that gap. We've been on a great run. You know, 10 wins in a row, 8 games without conceding a goal. And I thought, go into this game, make a statement in the league, extend that gap. If we had won today, it would have been 8 points. Sorry, it would have been 9 points on Manchester City and 10 points on Liverpool. Put all the pressure on them tomorrow. Sit back on the sofa tomorrow, feet up, cup of tea. But we didn't do that. We didn't do that. For me, this is a blown opportunity, a massive opportunity, wasted. And I want to start on the game. I want to talk about that first half. We were poor in that first half. We weren't imposing ourselves on the game. You know, press them. Why weren't we pressing? We were giving them way too much credit in that game. So much credit. Letting them into the game. Letting them play. Letting them keep the ball. Obviously, I don't want to talk about referees, but I'm going to have to. The referee in that game was absolutely shocking. Yeah, the standard of refereeing in the Premier League is a shambles. We know this. Yeah, if you're a rival fan watching this, you know this as well. You've had it against your team. You've had terrible decisions. Referees, VAR, all these idiots refereeing these games. They need to be looked at, man. PGMOL needs to be absolutely scrapped. If you watch that game back, how can you tell me that Zubamendi challenge was a foul, let alone a yellow card, which this absolute clown who's in charge of this game, this clown of a referee, gives a foul and a yellow card, which they then go and score from. But cool, let's move on from the decision. The defending for the goal, how Declan Rice is just nudged forward, misses the flight of the ball, and then we're just weak in the box. Gabriel, no one there to close it down. Ballard, a guy who used to play for Arsenal as a kid, bangs it into the top corner, 1-0 down. That's exactly what Sunderland would have wanted, you know. Stadium of Light's a big stadium. I think it's 45 or 48k capacity. And we just let them kind of dominate that first. Maybe not dominate, maybe dominate's harsh, but physically they were all over us in that first half. I think that was one of the poorest halves of from Arsenal I've seen in a while. I don't think we were terrible. I don't think we were I'm not going to say all over the place. I'm not going to go too far, but it wasn't good enough. You know, it wasn't what we've been seeing in recent weeks. We've barely been conceding shots in recent weeks, shots on target, let alone conceding goals. So to concede that, it was deflating. You know, I was surprised. I said recently, I'm going to be in shock next time Arsenal concede a goal, and that's what happened today. But that was the first half. You know, they slowed it down. They played for dirty fouls. They wanted to slow it down. Every time they went down, they stayed down for 5 minutes. You know, head injuries, rolling around. It was a dirty, dirty game of football in that first half, and it just felt like one that we just needed to dig in. We needed to turn up in that second half, dominate the game, put them under pressure, and we'll get a result. And I thought we did exactly that in the second half. Whatever Arteta said to them, whatever Mikel said to them in that dressing room at half-time, it worked. Because we came out second half a different team. You know, we were bopping it about, we were getting balls into the box, we were taking shots, edge of the box. Eze had a chance, Zubamendi hit the bar. There were chances from all over the place. Saka was getting more in the game. And I was calling for Saka to step up, get him on the ball, you know. Timber, get forwards. Eze, get in those central areas to draw defenders away from Saka, to give him some space. And we did that in the second half. We were pressing high. Declan Rice presses high, wins the ball back. And I'm literally saying, this is Sunderland. I understand, right? They're in a good position in the league. I understand they got quality. We know all about Granit Xhaka, Mukiele, you know, Brian Brobby obviously when he came on. But they have quality. I'm not denying that. But this is still Sunderland. This is still a team that are newly promoted to the Premier League. A year ago, they finished fourth in the Championship. Now we're giving them all this credit. That's why I'm so glad in that second half, or I was so glad in that second half. We stuck it on them. We pressed them high. Declan Rice won it back. Ball into Marino, into Saka. And what a fantastic finish that was. Bukayo Saka on his right foot. That's a great finish. Down, you know, bottom corner, near post. Tough for a keeper to save that. I know there's that thing about keepers should never get beaten at their near post, but that's a difficult shot to save. And then from that moment on, I thought we were in that game. We were so in that game. We were the better team. We were the only team that looked like going on to win it. And we created so much. Like I said, Zubimendi off the bar, Saka had a few, Mourinho had a few openings. You could feel it coming. You could feel it building. The crowd were obviously not as up for it as they were. You could feel the pressure was building from Arsenal, and we were bopping it about. That was considering the first half was so bad. Maybe not so, I'm not going to say so bad, but so not what we're used to this season from Arsenal. That second half was so much better. That was the Arsenal we know. And we've had some good and some big second half performances this season already. Fulham away, we had to dig into it to win it in the second half. Atletico Madrid at home, we digged in, we scored 4 goals in the second half. We know we have it. We know we have that mentality where even if it's not going well, we can turn it on. We can turn it around. And we did. The second goal comes, and what a goal it is. Trossard's a guy, I said before the game, he's going under the radar. I think he's quietly having a very, very good season for Arsenal. And we saw that. What a goal it was from Trossard. Absolute rocket. Cuts in on his right foot. Roof of the net. Keeper's not saving it. Edge of the box. Great goal. We go 2-1 up. I'm losing my head. I'm thinking, we're winning the league. Everything's great. Everything's rosy. And then it all went downhill. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It went downhill. I think Arteta didn't really know what to do in terms of changes. We hadn't made a change, I don't think, until... When did we make our first sub? I'm pretty sure it was around 85th minute. I understand you're missing 6 players. You're missing Madueke, so you can't really take Saka off unless you put Ethan on the right, which he doesn't like doing. You're missing Havertz, you're missing Jesus, you're missing Gyökeres, so you can't really take Mourinho off because you've got no one to replace him with. You're missing Martinelli, so you can't really take Trossard off. So what is the sub? So I understood why he's got a headache, but not to make a sub when you see Sunderland going making subs and then making a triple substitution and changing up, bringing on fresh legs. Like Declan Rice was blowing in that second half. Just change something. What I would have done personally, probably, I know he took Eze off, but I probably would have brought Ethan on for Eze, and I probably would have taken Marino off and put Norgard in the middle, just shore it up a little bit. But what he did, he took Eze off and he brought Christian Mosquera on, and what that then did, that said to Sunderland, right, we're going to sit back, come at us, we're going to try and defend this lead. And we just invited him into that game. That was so frustrating. And that is why I'm gutted today. Because that is 2 points there that we've dropped. Obviously, they keep putting balls into the box. They keep pressing. They got the ball around the box. Granit Xhaka in that second half was influential for them. Look, you can hear fireworks going on behind me. I feel like Sunderland fans celebrating a bloody draw. But it is a good result for them. And then, ultimately, they put a ball into the box. David Raya does not need to come for it. Stay on your line. Right? This is so rare we talk about David Raya like this because he's usually phenomenal. But he comes out flapping. Gabriel doesn't win the header. Brian Brobby gets like a sideways scissor bicycle kick on it. Goes into the empty net. And it's just an absolute hammer blow. It's an absolute gutting feeling to drop 2 points in a game you should not be dropping 2 points. A weekend where we should have put the pressure on Manchester City and Liverpool. We should have extended that gap. But instead we haven't. Well, I guess we've extended it by 1 point, but they play each other tomorrow. So whatever happens there, again, Sunderland fans, Man City and Liverpool fans celebrating with the fireworks outside. Whatever happens there, happens there. 7 points clear of City now. If they win, it's 4. If Liverpool win, it'll be 8 points clear of Liverpool, so it could be 5 on them. So we'll see what happens tomorrow, but at the end of the day, I'm gutted. I'm still going to back this team. I still think we'll win the league. This one hurts.